Greetings, I am Liz and I use she, her.
And I am Scandal and I use they, them.
And let's play a game together. Welcome back.
Yes,
we are doing our special precursor playthrough while we wait for the preview release of
Motya Awakening. Yeah, we're so excited about the demo, so here we go. His narrow chest rises, then slowly sinks back in as he looks toward his open pod. Without a controller, the pod lies dormant, its eyes closed and the folds of flesh quivering to a stop.
It seems everyone's excited to make big, life-changing decisions during the eclipse, but with that excitement comes a lack of judgment in some people, so there's been more trouble in general.
Yiestol sighs again. I can see a sliver of sharp teeth just past the thin gap between his lips.
The previous overlook did warn me that eclipses would be hard, but I might have underestimated it a little bit.
I give a sympathetic nod as I quickly undo the fabric of my delivery pack so I can line up the salt packets. Today's list of delivery notes is longer than usual, the paper unfolding into a long sheet when I pull it out of my pocket, and I look it over carefully as I begin to count out salt packets. This is your first eclipse, right? Me trying to I'm gonna read this, and also
That's right. At least I had plenty of time to get used to the job before it came around. I heard my predecessor was barely a decade into the job before his first eclipse.
Oh, a lot of work. Yiestol laughs. It's a soft chittering noise, like a cluster of birds, and I can't help but smile and reflex.
It's really cute. I love that sound description.
Reflex, not reflex. Goodness gracious.
But still, it's a very charming sound description.
It really
and
is.
Also the expression is very cute.
I can only imagine how hard that must have been.
Oh, yes. He never stopped telling me about how difficult that was.
Over and over. Man, in my day, blah, blah, blah.
I had to walk both hills up way to the eclipse.
Yeah, exactly. Yiestol's fingers are long and delicate as he double-checks my counting, making sure there's the right number of each type of salt. 10 for normal, white for mercury, yellow for honey, red for punishment. The office doesn't usually get such a wide variety of salts, but the eclipse merits some splurging, I guess.
I thought everyone deserves a little something nice for the eclipse.
Which is really sweet. Again, I'm like, that is so deeply thoughtful.
And it is this idea of going, no one gets left out. Not like, well, we're just going to make sure you have food, but we're going to make sure, again, you're included in the components of the celebration. There's a piece of poverty that makes it deeply exclusionary when you don't get to do the festivity things, even if you're not really needing basic stuff.
It's expensive to be poor. And that sounds a little paradoxical. It is. But the thing is that it really is difficult to be poor. Like, you really have to choose some days between going, well, I could do this thing, or I could do that thing. And it's like, one of them is literally, I could choose to have a 5-minute entertainment thing that will go away, or I could pay my rent. And you know what? I don't have enough money to pay my rent, so I'm going to do a 5-minute entertainment thing because otherwise, I'm going to get thrown out anyway. Who cares?
There's also the one of the easiest examples of why it's expensive to be poor, and this is a decision I've had to make in my life several times, is if I take time to cook a meal that is cheaper to make,
yes,
I get 2 hours less sleep because of dishes and prep time and eating time and cooking time than if I just throw a thing that costs 2 or 3 times as much into the microwave and get 2 hours sleep to be better at my job, to maintain my job more effectively. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that I think some people really honestly don't. And again, it's expensive to be poor. You have to. It's not just this stuff is cheaper. It's I would rather pick that over even the cheap stuff because I have to work so hard and so long and lose out on other important things. So I'm willing to pay, quote, extra for convenience because, God, I will never get enough sleep otherwise. Like my friends
I have to pay extra because I don't have time to do the dishes. I don't have time to cook.
And I already haven't done the dishes the last 6 times, so I've got an entire pile and I need to go do this.
And some of the other trade-offs that I did in the various times that I've been very poor in my life, because I was raised very, very poor. My mother has been poor her entire life. I guess they were very much like lower class when she was a little kid because they were in the military.
Right.
But it was still very much lower class. They might have been middle lower class. I would say so they were more stable, but still, your general military rates are pretty much the edge of poverty. I would say, but the other choices that I've had to make sometimes are just things like, again, in reference to sleep or work or maintaining a job or school. Like they're like, continue developing yourself and going, if I don't have enough sleep, I can't do well in school, so I waste the money on credits and I don't actually make any progress, that kind of thing, as well as...
you basically put yourself into more and more debt for...
I was going to say, well, I never did loans because I was terrified of them, so I couldn't go into debt, but I had to have enough money to pay for each semester, so I had to work enough, or skip that semester until I could afford it, or only take enough classes I could afford. Right. I would say, but there would also be the experience of going... I would have to choose to buy cheaper things to get me to take care of my jobs, because I could never afford a really expensive pair of shoes, and I didn't know enough about shoes to know which really expensive pair would last a long time anyways.
Right.
And so they talk about how poor people, spend more overall. If you buy 10 pairs of really cheap shoes over the year, it's the same cost as, one really expensive pair of shoes.
Or more expensive.
It costs more over the 6 years that expensive pair of shoes would last, but you keep wearing out your cheap ones.
Uh-huh.
Because you never have the money to buy the nice ones.
Yeah.
At any rate.
Huh? It's like he can read my mind. He runs a finger over the stacks of salt packets.
It's an awfully special time, so I put in a little effort and found the funds for some specialty salt. They'll go to people who've been having hard times as sort of a good luck charm.
I'm sure it'll be really appreciated. I look up from my note to give him a smile. He blinks before smiling back. His teeth are very white.
Let's comment on the very nice teeth that people have. Yes. I'm glad you think so. I'd like to help as many people as possible to make this eclipse safe and enjoyable for as many people as possible, even if I had to spend every waking moment in the Overlook plot. Also, the writers of this game have talked quite a bit how there is some repetition in here, and how there are writing changes they would like to make, and that this game, being their first, wasn't able to have as high of quality as they both would have liked, and so they're really they have things put in place for that much more thoroughly in their next game, and I'm excited to see that because I love the writing in here, but there is the sort of people as possible, 2 lines away,
right,
and that sort of thing is something they intend to address in their newer game.
Right. And that's the thing. Honestly, though, sometimes you really just go, you know what? You're right. I did make that error, and that's going to be there forever, and
it's okay.
I'm going to move on.
Yeah. And the thing is,
it's a good thing to put shit down. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've just been like, just get the idea out, and then put it down, and then keep going. If you ever have the ability to come back, good for you. But, like...
It's also not required.
It's not required,
You could just keep moving forward.
It's okay. You know? I already do so much for the community, though. Yiestol looks at me when I speak up, and I smile at him. I'm not very good at being reassuring, but I do my best.
What are the comfort actions?
Hi. There. I've heard people talk about how things have become really peaceful since you became Overlook. So don't worry too much. As long as you do your best, I'm sure that's plenty. Yiestol's hair rustles as he cans his head. He seems to be considering what I said. I'm rooting for you, alright? So let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Though he remains silent, Yiestol blinks, like he's just realizing something. I should head off then. I wouldn't want to eat up too much of your time either.
Okay, that bit, the first time we played through here, I didn't, without knowing where the story was going, I didn't connect to him making that leap of logic, and I won't say what it was, but that actually was very thoughtful writing. And I will say, if you do play this game, definitely play through and then, think back to the setup of things, because there's a lot of really effective foreshadowing in here.
There really is. I like it. I've double checked to make sure I've set out all the salt Yiestol requested, so I pick up my pack to tie it back over my shoulder. But as I'm tying the knot, Yiestol suddenly draws a little closer, just one pace away from me. He's tall enough that I have to raise my head a little to look into his eyes. He's looking down at me with clear focus.
Okay, this feels so much like an anime moment, though. Like, your main character is just, grabbing their stuff, tying it on, and then suddenly this whole, shadow moves in really closely, and you look all the way up the body from, basically waist level, because that's where the table is,
right,
up into their eyes, and then there's that moment of just the realizing your faces are pretty close together despite the height gap, and this sort of woo!
Yeah, exactly.
The feeling is very effective. Vel.
Yes?
Yes?
Hi.
I know you're busy with your route, but if it's possible, could you spare a few more minutes to speak with me?
There's an unusual gravity to his voice. Yiestol is usually light and airy. Everything about him feels unobtrusive and soft. But right now, there's a clear point to his words, and his back's held straighter. Even if his gaze is gentle and his voice is relaxed, I can tell from the tension of his shoulders and the way he holds himself that he's serious. I can't help casting a brief glance towards the door, though. My schedule's still pretty busy today, and I can't spare that much extra time, especially since I should try to stay a little ahead of schedule in case I hit any roadblocks or cause for delay later down the line.
And especially with everything going on, where in this case Phil is very aware not only of I like to be ahead of time, and on schedule, but also going, you've already said there's a lot going on, it might be harder to do what I'm supposed to do.
Right. But still, I get the sense that this might be something very important for Yiestol. Even if I stay to speak to him, I should be able to manage all my other deliveries as long as I move quickly and don't waste any more time.
Go ahead. I'll say,
what should I do?
One of the things I was going to point out, and this is sort of basically a guide to the game, is whoever you stay and talk to on this day is the one that they put you in the ability to choose a route with.
I thought that it was you have a point later where you have to choose from there.
I say this is the one where you get connected to them.
Oh,
and you don't get to spend...
I forget.
I was just saying, it doesn't lock you in. But you don't get to spend additional time with anyone else on this day. So whoever you choose, you get an opportunity to spend extra time with each of the three of them, and whoever you choose, you only have time for that one.
Yes.
And so, in this first route, we're not going to do any of them.
It's true.
And we're going to, because there's actually an additional ending to the game that I haven't seen anyone else play, and so we're going to do that.
Yes.
And then continue
because we like being controversial around here.
Also, we like doing things that, finding content that authors took the time to put together that other people haven't seen.
Yes, exactly. So honestly, based on that, we're going to apologize and get going. It's too bad, but I don't want to risk delaying anyone's delivery. Plus, I've got a lot of extra work, and I cannot count on what's going to happen today.
I will say that the first time we played this game, we did stay and listen to him because it was very earnest, and we were not disappointed at all.
It was also one of those things where you're sort of caught off guard, and it makes total sense. You'd be like, yeah, okay. Sorry, Yiestol, but I've got a pretty busy route today. I can't talk right now, but would it be alright if I came back to talk to you later in the evening, after I'm done? Yiestol's expression remains a perfect picture of calm. For a moment, I think I see his eyelids lower, his gaze flickering off to one side, but any trace of discomfort dissipates in an instant. Maybe it was just a trick of the light.
No, it's alright.
He smiles. He has a nice smile.
It wasn't anything important, and you should rest up after your route. You do run an awful lot.
Sorry, again.
You don't have anything to apologize for.
I finish tying my bundle back together and straighten up, adjusting the way its weight sits on my back. I'll be heading off, okay?
Stay safe.
You too. Don't work yourself too hard, alright? Yiestol smiles. It's a very kind smile.
It's really cute.
He's really cute!
He's freaking adorable. I'll be careful.
I wave as I open the door and slip out. I don't have the time to dawdle, so I immediately transition from a walk to a jog, then to a steady trot. When I cast a glance back up at the overlooked spire, the eyeballs on it have already started to blink into action, weeping a few tears to moisturize themselves before casting about quickly. No doubt seeking out troublemakers to put a halt to, or people who might need help.
Yes.
I give the spire a wave of the arm right before I turn to the corner, but I can't be sure if Yiestol would have seen it.
Thanks for the delivery.
No problem.
Hey, be careful now, alright?
Will do. Thanks. I have to hurry. If I hurry with the next few deliveries, I should be able to stay ahead of schedule. Giving myself a few minutes of leeway is important in case I run into any trouble along the way, especially since things are ramping up to the eclipse. I've already had to take a detour because there was a rowdy celebration going on in one street.
I appreciate Vil's basically strong focus on I can't just stay on schedule. I have to stay ahead of schedule because I realize that today so many different things could happen. So staying ahead of schedule is really the only responsible thing to do here.
Anything could go wrong. My feet skid across the ground as I turn a corner, my claws raking deep furrows into the dirt as I straighten back up without dropping my pace. My next 2 clients are absent from their homes. As much as it pains me to say, that's good for me today. I quickly slot their salt packets into their boxes and resume running. I'll say hi to them on another day, when I have more time. I'm sure they're also busy with their own eclipse preparations. Distracted, trying to think of any other shortcuts I can take without skipping any stops on my route, I don't hear the sound of approaching footsteps the instant I set into the park, and I certainly don't expect a hefty bundle of fur and fangs to come bursting out of the foliage to my immediate left.
Boosh! Bill! Slide, sure.
I don't manage to stop quickly enough. Neither does Brattan. He collides squarely with me, knocking us both into the grass.
I feel like there's so much inspired anime-inspired stuff in here, as far as the moments that are, tropey and charming that I'm familiar with in various different series. And the visual there is very clear and very cute.
Honestly, the thing that I enjoy is that it's genuinely trying to have fun. It is, quote, trying to be cozy. Because it is just meant to be nice. It's not supposed to be this horrible thing,
See, I was waiting for you.
You were? I gently brush at Brattan's shoulder so he'll get off of me. Not that this is a particularly terrible position to be in. Excuse me while I cough. Brattan's fur is quite soft and clean today. He must have taken a shower after last night's exploring, and his body's very warm. But he's still heavy, and getting pressed into the grass for too long might make dirt seep through my pack and taint the salt.
I love the idea of going,
no, that get gross!
You just absolutely just barreled into me out of nowhere, and I had shock and surprise as well as tumbling onto the ground and landing in an adorable position, as it were. And then I just go, you're soft and warm and snuggly, but you're squishing me and, oh no, the product!
Ah, my job! Brattan moves back obligingly, clambering to his feet and holding out his hand so I can also stand. His hand is huge. The pads of his paws squish slightly against my palm. Beans!
Toe beans!
Need so many beans!
You're on your route, right?
Yeah.
He's such himbo energy.
I love
You're working, aren't you? Wearing a work pack, running the work route. I'll run with you.
Thanks? He's never done this before. Still, it's not like I mind the company, and Brattan is in fantastic shape. Even as I run at a steady jog, he keeps up with me just by walking quickly.
King Speedwalker.
Also, big steps.
Large boy. I also love he's in fantastic shape. Also, enthusiastically displayed by him laying on top of me a moment ago.
Him!
Wow!
Wow!
See, I found something really interesting last night.
So that's why he was waiting for me. He must have been really excited to tell someone. What was it?
I'm not sure.
Huh.
But I'm doing my best to figure it out. Huh.
That sounds difficult. Brattan looks around before he continues speaking, like he's making sure nobody else is around. Visibility is poor in the park anyway, so even if someone were eavesdropping, I'm not sure he'd be able to spot them. Nonetheless, he looks satisfied that we're alone and continues. He's so excited that his voice is starting to get gravelly at the edges, like he's fighting back the urge to start barking.
Which is so cute, honestly. But also, I need to point something out here that I've really just noticed. Again, we played this over a year ago for the first time.
Yep.
And we've contrasted it really strongly to other dating games that we've played since then.
Yes, it has been a standard setter.
As well as just in the time that we were playing it, going, this is different than romances we've been exposed to.
Yes.
In a way that we really like. But it occurs to me that none of the men in here, none of the love interests actually demand that you take your time out for them. Yeah. There is such a trope, especially in anime, but also in a lot of romances that I've seen, where the man will demand you take time out for them. I'm going to pull you aside, I'm going to stop you from your day.
Physically interfere.
And the fact that, first of all, Yiestol is very respectful of Ville's job, going, do you have time to stay? And can you? And then also Brattan going, now that I realize you're working, I will just run with you. Even without us going, I don't know why you're running with me, but if I need to talk to you, the only considerate way to do it is to run with you.
So I actually have to say something that I thought about for a while, and I imagine Hal or Miru, if you guys are also listening, this is also partly for you. I've always really liked this story because a lot of the times, based on what I've seen, a lot of the people who come into this aren't necessarily really interested in monsters necessarily. Like they're more used to the classic trope of, like, here's your werewolf guy, and you can kind of get past Yiestol, right? But then you've got Niarg. Now, the one thing that I have found to be very wonderful about this story is the fact that it really tries to go, I'm trying to connect you to the character and say that appearances are deceiving.
And appearances, like, don't
and
necessarily
they don't necessarily
dictate who
attraction
someone is.
either. And that's why I think in some ways it is so damn disappointing based on what I've seen for other people, how they've reacted to this story as a whole, or various different romances, as it were, and given you sometimes feedback where they go, oh my god, I can't believe you did that, I feel sort of betrayed. I feel disappointed because as somebody who likes monsters, I thought the whole point was basically going, I love you because of, but also despite of. Because it is that mix, it is that sort of uncomfortable mix sometimes too, with, like, again, like the biggest, most obvious one is Niarg, is that despite the fact that he's really off-putting for most people,
it seems
like you really go, these characters are fantastic, and it's about them as beings, about, quote, being people. And that's what draws you to them, not the fact that they're just attractive.
Right, and the thing is that I really like in here is that the game doesn't focus really hard on how good they look. There's a lot of romances that talk about basically how hot everyone is, and just how sexy they are or attractive they are. And the things are, as we've pointed out, there are markers in here of Vil noticing that these people are attractive.
Right.
And that they have different qualities of attractiveness, describing a bits here and there of basically implying that Yiestol's very pretty. And also that Niarg is like very charming and very appealing in that way. And here that, you know, Brattan is strong and healthy, physically and fluffy.
Yeah.
Just literally like soft and fluffy.
But I really, again, like, my big thing, though, too, because we've talked about it multiple times, where it is still, and again, I know for a lot of you, if you haven't played this game before, you might not understand, but I really will tell you that it's a trope that I've hated. It's actually one of the things that has always confused me about people who say they like Beauty and the Beast, and then they get mad when the Beast transforms into a person.
So I was actually gonna go in that direction as well and say, one of the things that's really, really funny about the Beauty and the Beast thing, especially with the Disney
whole thing
version,
is don't judge people by the way they look.
And appearances shouldn't be what matter most, and then everyone goes, but his appearance changed.
And everybody just gets mad. And I'm like, I kind of understand what you're talking about, but also at the same time, I feel like you completely missed the point of that. Because part of it was literally going, Gaston looks hot. He is actually intended to be attractive for the time period. And yes, like, there's a lot of stuff where, like, when I was a kid and I first saw the movie, I wasn't really attracted to Gaston. But I've understood basically more as I've gotten older, going, I see the markers and the indicators, basically what was more socially valuable, right? And I go, oh, he was totally meant to be, like, peak man hot. And then, like, the Beast was really supposed to be more unappealing, and then it was, of course, you know, I become a person. And so many people go, I'm so fucking disappointed. I'm like, but the whole point was that you liked the Beast because of the person he was.
Not because the way he looked.
Yeah.
And it was funny because so many people were like, but he's so big and strong and cuddly and fluffy and intriguing looking. A cool-ass monster design that they were disappointed when it went away. I was just saying, and basically one of the reasons we both wanted to do this playthrough again here, and pardon the long segue, please.
Yes.
Is that the other people that I've seen start to play this game and do playthroughs on YouTube, all the ones that I've seen have stopped. They've either stopped because there was not a lot of interest in it, or because they encountered something that they went, that kind of hit my discomfort zone. My squick or discomfort, or basically going, I'm trying to read the warnings and choose a safe route that's different than the warning I don't want to, you know, run into. And because this game subverts expectations in each one of the routes in a different way, they always lose.
Yeah, they really do.
They lose the shuffle. And I don't want anyone to be uncomfortable while we're doing this, but there are so many things I really love about the story. It is something I want to share with you.
And the thing is again, I will also say, I'm sorry, like, in that way, in that, not to be condescending, that people, though, can't access basically the kind of intimacy and closeness for basically where my friend is talking about, that people feel like basically they had the wool pulled over their eyes kind of thing. Or you pulled the rug out from underneath me, how dare you kind of thing.
And I'm really sorry they feel that way too, because I didn't feel that at all playing this game.
No, I felt great. I was also just be like, this is so much better than a lot of the other romance games I've played. I was like, damn, what the fuck?
Yep.
All right, urge to start barking.
I think it's really important, you know? I've never seen anything like it before. And I think it could change things. If it's what I think it might be, then it might be huge. It might go down in history as something incredible. So I'm really excited to figure out more about it.
He's so enthusiastic that it's infectious. I can't help smiling as I nod. I don't know much about exploring, but I hope it's something great. You're always working really hard, and it'd be nice if people got a chance to really appreciate all the work you put into your job. Brattan beams, showing all of his teeth.
I also really like tiny moments like that in this game because they're really good character pieces for me. Because Vil cares a lot about their own job. Like, deeply they care about their own job. Mm-hmm. And they talk a lot about other people and their jobs. Mm-hmm. And they relate them a lot to them through their work ethics.
Right.
And I think that's a really neat piece of focus, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
We jog along in silence for a few moments. By the way, did you put it in order for any salt today? Brattan looks like he was startled out of his usual thoughts by that. His fur is puffed out a little larger than usual.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
Would you like it now?
Sure.
I slow to a walk so I can fumble with my pack, carefully extracting one of the salt packets without dropping any of the others. Here you go.
I would get the impression that the pack is like a baby sling, basically.
It's
a sling pack.
You are precious.
This is my salt baby.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you have a few moments to spare?
It's my turn to be caught off guard. Still holding out Brattan's packet, I give him a curious look.
I want to show you something.
He's so excited, he's drooling slightly. A thin string of spittle hanging from his jaw. It must be his discovery from the other day. Well, I glance up. The sky still peaks bright past the canopy of gnarled branches and muddy leaves. I'm not terribly late, so I suppose I could spare a few minutes, but it would also mean I'd have to hurry with the rest of my route, which I don't like doing on principle. Still, when I look back to Brattan, his tail isn't wagging. I can't see it, so it must be standing straight at attention behind his back, which is rare. This might be something pretty important to him, so I can't answer lightly.
I also really appreciate that while all of the monsters in here are distinctively different, there is nobody that's just, a unified, basically a formula of being.
Right.
That
they're not all vampires, they're not all werewolves.
They don't all look the same. I was going to say that Vil still reads body language and reads it really effectively. So it's clear Vil's been living in the society their whole life, making it feel very, very real and like the character is at home here. And also, again, inviting you in and making you feel comfortable with these characters so you're not having a mysterious experience. Vil's going, here's the body language I'm reading, and here's why I'm reading it this way.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is actually, this is one of the reasons that I really liked this story. I really enjoyed it because this is very much filtered through Vil. And even if it might be a little bit too much telling, it feels fairly accurate to who Vil is as a character. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't feel like too much. Like when we've had other stories and they suddenly ramble off about weird things that don't feel like they suit that character at all. And they actually, in many cases, are directly contradictory to the proposed knowledge base or awareness or wisdom that character actually has. Mm-hmm. And it's deeply goddamn frustrating.
Okay. I like this, though, here for two folds, a reason specifically, and I appreciate that contribution.
Yeah.
I was going to say, really, though, it's the Vil pays close attention to the person's body language, and also that they are connecting you more to the character as a person, the love interest as a person. There's so many games where the love interest sort of just feels like a target to me, or a goal, or essentially basically a catalyst for ooh-woo fluffy feelings, and that's it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that, but it feels like it's only those things, and I personally want more.
Yes, and the thing is I think also what my friend is talking about is basically a gamified relationship.
Yeah.
Like, already in this capacity, of course, this is a game where you're trying to, quote, pick the correct options in order to, quote, go on the date. Uh-huh. But the thing is, it doesn't feel as, like, obvious or as forced here.
And it feels way more with Vil paying particular attention to each of these people that they are fully developed, realized people. That if you spent time alone with Brattan, he would be a whole entire person, not just basically a hot guy.
Not just sort of a fantasy for you to kind of project your ideas
basically,
on.
Yeah. A fantasy, a blank fantasy trope.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And again, not saying those other games aren't good, just saying they're not I like.
Yeah, it's a different tone and it's a different set of expectations. Sometimes you want light, fluffy thing, whatever it is. Other times you want a deep, intense pie.
Or in this case, I just like stories that have more people characterization in them.
Sometimes you want apples, sometimes
and this
you
makes
want
me
oranges.
happy.
What should I do? Make the quick trip with Brattan, or apologize and get going? Unfortunately, I need to apologize and get going. I've really got to. It's too bad, but I don't want to risk delaying anyone's delivery. I feel a little bad, but I think it would be best to turn him down. I don't want to risk being late on any deliveries. Sorry, Brattan. My schedule's a little tight today, so now is not the best time. Maybe I can meet you after my route's over? Brattan's ears are usually perked up, but they tilt down at that. His tail also drooping to peek out between his legs. It's obvious he's still trying to sound upbeat.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
I do worry about it.
Now I'm worried about it.
Are you sure? I'd be happy to come back here after I'm done with my route. I just don't want to keep anyone waiting. Brattan considers that for a moment before shaking his head. His tail's resumed its gentle wagging.
Yeah, it's fine. On second thought, I guess I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be showing you anyway.
Well, we're gonna have to find out in the
next one!
Hey! So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Please feel free to go check out our description. We've actually got a bunch of links to both Hal and Miru, who are both the head artist and the head writer, even though it's obviously a two-person studio, so that's mostly what they did.
Yes.
But they did help each other, as far as I understand, on both sides. And then you can go check out in the information. You can actually see the trailer for Motya Awakening. It's still linked down below. Please also feel free to go check out our stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. It actually helps a lot with regards to the video and how it's received on YouTube with the algorithm. So we'd appreciate it. Also, feel free to go check out our links for Ko-fi, Patreon, and whatever else. They are all down below. And I have been Scandal.
And I have been Lies.
And it was great playing with you. Bye!